What a brilliant way to tell your audience that you're about to embark on a journey that's unlike anyone you've ever been on before. And that is really the essence of the movie Airplane, the one that we'll be watching tonight. That opening with the Jaws theme, well, you'll see it when we get to it, which is just in a couple minutes here. But I want to talk briefly about, so we deviated a little bit yesterday with First Blood to pay tribute to Brian Dennehy, and now we're going back to The Trajectory. The Trajectory is coming from Trading Places, which has a small role from an actor named Steven Stucker, the late Steven Stucker, who the only movies that I know of him being in were Trading Places, which we watched last week, and Airplane and Airplane 2. So that is the connection here. And this is going to connect us to that Eddie Murphy trajectory we were talking about through an actor. Well, I won't even tell you who it is until we see him. He's not in the movie much, but and there are a couple ways he can connect us to two different Eddie Murphy movies. So I don't know which one we're going to be doing next, but anyway, this is a masterclass in comedy movies and parodies, to be more precise. The filmmakers, Jim Abrams, David Zucker, and Jerry Zucker, came out of the Kentucky Fried Theater. I want to say Chicago, but I'm not 100% sure. Could be, might not be, but it's basically another one of those, underground kind of cultish comedy troupes like National Lampoon or Second City. Those back in the early 70s. They did a lot of comedy writing and improv stuff, and these guys went in a parody direction. They made the movie called Kentucky Fried Movie, which was basically kind of like a hodgepodge of just different sketches, and it's really funny, but it's not like a narrative movie. It's more like Monty Python type stuff, and it's great. I mean, it's really funny. Some of the jokes are hit or miss, but there's some really funny stuff there. But then this is their first foray into narrative movie making, and they also did the Naked Gun series. They did a movie called Top Secret, which was a parody, a spy thriller parody with Val Kilmer, which is really funny. It's not quite on this level, but it's funny. They also did a movie called Ruthless People with Danny DeVito. That's not a parody. That's a straight comedy, and it's really hilarious. But and I'm going to do that at some point because it's really funny, but it's different than this. Interesting fact, though, they did not do Airplane 2, and I've heard interviews with them, and they've never actually seen it, and I think Airplane 2 is absolutely hysterical. We're not going to follow Airplane 2. We're not going to follow this with Airplane 2, but I'm going to come back to Airplane 2 because there's so much in there that's just absolutely hysterical. But back to this one, these guys kind of lost their way, as you can't reinvent the wheel over and over again, and they basically invented something with this. This is not like Mel Brooks comedies. This is not like, and I'm not saying better or worse. It's just different. And what they really did here is they found the key to a great comedy, which is they got to play it straight. You got to believe that these characters are in danger, that there are stakes. You have to tell the story. You're not just throwing a bunch of funny people on screen and tell them, be funny, cut, check, print. That's not the way great comedies work. And in order to do that, they had to get a great cast, and they have a hell of a cast here. It might not mean much to people who are younger than 30, maybe even people my age. I'm sort of ahead of my time. I don't know, but they have actors in this movie who were very respected and well-known dramatic actors at the time. You have Lloyd Bridges, who was in Gunsmoke and I think Gunsmoke and Sea Hunt, big TV shows. Often played a bad guy in movies. Leslie Nielsen, who was like a go-to bad guy. I mean, he was a tough, mean son of a bitch. And he found something in this that took him on a completely different career trajectory, and he went to star in all the Naked Gun movies. And there was a period where, he was just pumping out a parody every year, and most of them were not good. But hey, he still got paid for them, and it all started with this. Robert Stack was he was the star of the Untouchables, the Elliot Ness Al Capone television show. Peter Graves was Mission Impossible. I mean, these were not comedic actors, and they're not trying to be funny here. They are playing it completely straight, and that's what makes it even funnier. And surround them with a bunch of newer faces that are just as equal to the task, like Robert Hayes and Julie Haggerty, and a great cameo from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who we'll get to. But before we start the movie, I just want to say that this movie I didn't realize this until a couple of years ago, that this movie is an out-and-out remake of a 50s B movie. I always thought that this was like a parody of the airport disaster movies from the 70s and 80s, but it's not. It's a parody / remake of a movie called 0 Hour, which I don't think anybody saw. A really terrible, 50s B movie or C movie about an airplane disaster. And the filmmakers, they bought the rights to it, and they remade it almost shot for shot. The characters' names are the same, or many of them are, and there's actually a YouTube video which compares the two side by side, just taking different scenes and showing how they compare, and it's spot on. The difference here is that they decided to take every scene that they could from that movie and just extend it a little bit to get a laugh in there and find a way to milk it with a laugh. And that's what this movie does. And the jokes come fast and furious, and I'm going to pick out some of the jokes that come from that idea that they kind of just threw in there at the end of an already existing scene that make it even funnier as they come up, that I know of. So if that bothers you, you don't have to listen to this one. But I think it's important to see how that worked. And this is one of the top comedies ever made. You're not going to find many top 10 comedy lists without this one on it. So we're going to start it. I'm at 5 seconds in. I am on the Paramount logo. The wind is whistling, and I am going to give you a 3, 2, 1, play. All right, so we've got the Paramount logo. We hear the wind, and it's already a little intense. And now right away, it looks like a parody of Jaws, because you're going to hear that Jaws, the John Williams Jaws theme. And just like in Jaws, where you see the fin coming out of the water, they do that with the tailplane, with the tail of the plane here. And people sitting in the theater probably were like, are we seeing a parody of Jaws? What's going on here? And then this basically says all bets are off. Everything is fair game. And they do that. And there it's almost got a B-movie feel to it, even with those, overbearing titles there. And this tense music. Robert Hayes, terrific actor. Both Julie Haggerty, she's good too. This is LAX. And so now you hear, they all right. So they take all of these things that you see and hear at airports, right? So you hear the announcements. There's no stopping in the red zone. There's no stopping in the white zone. Don't leave your car attended, ladies and gentlemen. So you hear the announcements continuing. Now there's Elaine. She's the main stewardess. And we're going to let that go for a few moments. And here's one of those religious zealots. She takes the flower and says, "Screw you." All right, here are the jive guys. Now, we don't know who these people are yet. And this is very racist. Look at them. They're just like, it's just some Hare Krishnas there. And now, if you've got the subtitles on, the two people who were saying the announcements started having an argument. Not even the Hare Krishnas are going to give to the religious people asking for donations. This is a nice, a funny physical joke. Not hilarious, but it's there. Yep, yeah, he's all metal. And listen to these two. You want me to have an abortion. And they're saying it in the same kind of voices that they were using before. Nice parking job. So here's a guy hailing a cab, and here is our hero, Ted Stryker, played by Robert Hayes. And of course, he puts the meter on. Guy gets in the cab, and the driver runs inside, and the guy's like, "What the hell?" Yep, they're the big three: Abrams, Zucker, and Zucker. Jerry Zucker went on to he directed the movie Ghost, and that's actually Jerry Zucker right there as the air traffic controller, and that's David Zucker, his little brother, as the other one. So now just 1 point in the wrong direction, and that happens. And that actually happened in 0 hour, if I remember correctly. But it just happened. It wasn't for any particular reason. So now we're getting some exposition. We know that these two are former lovers, and he's trying to win her back. And that Elmer Bernstein music is just so cheesy. And it's supposed to be. This is actually one of my favorite jokes ever. What a pisser. Breaking the fourth wall is always makes me laugh for some reason. Look at that whacking material on the lower right there. And here's the the captain. That's Peter Graves. That's Peter Graves, one of the, he was such a respected veteran actor, and he is reading a porno magazine. His introduction into this movie is he's reading a porno magazine called Modern Sperm. It's tough to keep up with all the jokes. It really is. So here's a doctor telling he's got a passenger with a heart condition, or he's gonna have a heart transplant. And all this is to set up other jokes. Like, that's a silly joke right there, but this sets up a joke that comes now and some jokes that come later. Give me ham on 5, hold the mayo. Again, a joke I didn't get until years later. And here's the girl who's going to be operated on. Yeah, you don't usually see the mom holding the IV drip. All right, and while you're throwing jokes at us, you have to move the story along, so we have to make sure that we know what it is between these two. So they're talking about his war record. He was in the Vietnam War, although they never really mention it, which war he was in. Maybe it was Korea, I don't know. But they don't mention it. But this is a scene directly from Zero Hour, where it's not between a man and a woman. It's between a man and somebody and another guy. I don't know why, but they basically have the same conversation, saying you can't do this. Your war record screws you up. And here is where they get the laugh. Boom. Yeah, back in the day where you could just look at the ticket. And how racist is this? And that's Jimmy J.J. Walker in a cameo. He's changing the oil on the plane. This is when gas station attendants used to do that while they were filling up your car. And he was a huge star. And there he goes. Yeah, Jimmy Walker was a huge star back then. There's Kareem. Yeah, Roger Murdoch, that's his name. And there's going to be a classic joke that comes. And here he's paying this. That's one of those old credit card. That's one of those old credit card machines that they take an imprint before they could read the stripe. There's some little kid sizing up a chick. Can you tell me if Elaine Dickinson is on this flight? Well, the whole flight crew is boarded. Now, the joke here in Zero Hour, he's asking if his wife and children are on board. And then he buys a ticket. I say, I can't keep up. But he literally says, I'd like one ticket to Chicago, no baggage. I mean, that today you say that, and the anti-terrorism group is coming right after you. But then they went back, and as he buys his ticket for the flight that's about to leave, they cut back to his passenger waiting in the cab. Now we're getting war flashbacks, and that is the voice of Robert Stack, who we'll meet in a little while. And we see that he's got PTSD. He's a little freakish of flying because of some kind of mistake. Now this is a joke and a half, man. Just very racist, but so funny. I mean, they're talking what would now be considered. I mean, kids talk like this all the time now. White kids, black kids, everybody. But and they don't call it jive. They call it, I guess, ebonics or whatever. I don't know what they call it now, but they called it jive there, and that's going to come into play a little later and make it even funnier. But as you know, just having the subtitles tell us what they're saying, even though they're speaking English, it's racist or at least prejudiced, but it's funny as hell. And he goes, shit, and the subtitle says, golly. Little jokes like that. And these little plays on words here.
Nervous?
Yes.
First time.
No, I've been nervous lots of times.
That's right over like a Chevy Chase movie. That kind of joke.
I'll be taking off real soon, so I better fasten you in tight. Oh, Mother, this is so exciting. But remember, you must get some rest. That's good advice. You relax.
It's like, yeah, these supporting players, they can overdo it a little bit. And here's something that has nothing to do with the plot at all. But because it's funny, it's in it. And it's right from Zero Hour. It's a couple saying goodbye, and we're supposed to, feel it. We never see these two people again. So here... on the tarmac. And this is great here. Oh, man. Yep, we know that this is not a good idea. Something bad is going to happen.
Oh, I haven't flown for a long time.
Cheesy B-movie kind of playing there.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Over speaking. We'll be cruising at 36,000 feet this evening. Our arrival time in Chicago will be...
Yeah, so here's another joke. That's from Zero Hour. You have a nun who's reading the Bible, and a kid who's reading a comic.
Do you have anything light?
So they kind of switched it on us.
This leaflet, famous Jewish...
Yeah, she's giving out things to read, and the old woman says, "Do you want anything light?" And here's a leaflet, famous Jewish sports legends. How many are there? So it's not going to be a whole magazine. It's going to be a little piece of paper. And this is going to be a running gag in both movies. And in Zero Hour, he does have a conversation with the person who's sitting next to him. And he's just telling him the whole story. And it's boring to the audience, but it's not boring to the person sitting next to him. So here, they say, okay, how do we make it not boring for the audience? By making it boring for the person sitting next to him. And that's... This lady plays it brilliantly. They just look for anything that they can do that's just weird. A stripper is playing the trombone. And this is hysterical to me. These are two Girl Scouts. One Girl Scout sees the other Girl Scouts cheating at cards, and here they're just getting. This is like WWE shit. Oh, yep. Chair shot. Man, it's got to be. This is sexist for me to say, but it's got to be two dudes. I don't know. That's actually a takeoff on the TV show Happy Days, which was a hit at the time, where Fonzie was able to just pound on the jukebox and it would start. So now everyone kind of forgets, and now they're going into Saturday Night Fever.
I didn't go there that night to fall in love. I just dropped in for a couple of drinks. And suddenly, there she was.
And there she is, telling their story. And it's not lost on me that he's the only one in uniform. Everyone else is in, like, dive bar clothes. Yep, fate. The guy she's dancing with just gets stabbed in the back. Literally stabbed in the back. And you could see the padding. You could see it. They're running gag too. He throws the hat. Somebody throws it back. And this is, yes, that's what they all wear under their, they all wear Travolta's clothes under their uniform there. Look at these just... There are errors in this scene, but it doesn't matter because we're already in it, and it kind of comes up right here. And this is great. And there's a dancing scene in 0 Hour, but it's just a dancing scene. And here's what they do with it: she just tosses him away, and he goes flying. Now, if you could see, you can rewind it. You saw the actor. It was obviously a stuntman who was flipped over like that, but Robert Hayes was hiding behind there, and you could actually see him waiting to jump out. Now it's just him. See, in today's movies, this has nothing to do with the plot. But it's still funny because these characters are so endearing. Now we see the Girl Scouts still going at it. And this is right out of 0 Hour 2. They're dancing all night long. Very romantic, very sweet, very nice. As the guy cleans up, everybody's gone. They're in love. So what do we do? That. Yeah, you get. And now, how do we turn this one around? The old lady hung herself. Nobody notices, but she's there hanging because she was so damn bored of this. And this is, the difference here is that the kid who goes up to visit the captain is the son of Ted Stryker in 0 Hour. And here are these guys again. Somehow she understands them. This is priceless too. And yes, in 0 Hour you had two kind of like prepubescent kids who were having somewhat of an intellectual conversation, and here they decide to add in a cup of coffee.
No, thank you. I take it back. Like my man.
Oh, God. And now he's telling somebody else's story. It's like he's trying to kill everybody before the plane does. Now she's going to start remembering. See, this is important storytelling. It's just you got to tell us who these people are because we got to care about them in order to, be with them on this journey. Even in a crazy comedy like this, you have to tell us where they come from, where they've been, and here's this is a nice little takeoff on From Here to Eternity. And it's funny when he comes back up, he's got all the vines and crap hanging off him. Look at all. Oh my God, it's gross. And they have a conversation in 0 Hour just like this, and watch what he does with the dialogue. He just tells her the entire mission. Like, we're coming in from the north, below their radar. We're going to do this, and that. When are you going to be home? I can't tell you. That's classified. That's the secret. In 0 Hour, it was just, I have to go to war. So nothing has really happened yet. It's taken the first kind of act to introduce everybody. We have, and here comes the kid, and this. So this is word for word out of 0 Hour until they take it a step further. The kid says, "I've never been up in a plane before," in 0 Hour. What kind of sick fuck writes that line? But it works. He just starts asking him questions. And in 0 Hour, I forgot who it was. But see, he's saying this Kareem. In 0 Hour, it was a famous athlete. I forgot who it was, but he was acting. He was acting. He was in it. He wasn't himself. So here they decided, let's just let's get Kareem to do this, and let's have the kid call him out as Kareem.
Just remember, my name is Roger Murdoch. I'm an airline pilot.
I think you're great, but my dad says you don't work hard enough on defense. You said that last time. You don't even run on court. And you don't really try, except during the playoffs.
The hell I don't. Listen to me. I've been hearing that crap ever since I was at UCLA. I'm out there busting my buns every night. Tell your old man to drag Walton and Lanier up and down the court for 48 minutes.
Oh, Kareem was great in this.
Johnny, you like movies about gladiators?
Just a question that means absolutely nothing. And
I know things haven't been right for a long time, but it'll be different. Like it was in the beginning,
I remember everything. Saying word for word.
Mostly I remember the nights when we were together. I remember how you used to hold me. How I used to sit on your face and wriggle.
That line was not in 0 Hour, but the one after it was. She did not say sit on my face in 0 Hour. They just add that in to get the laugh, and it works. She's sitting there crying. She's sitting there crying about memories, and then she says, I remember you used to sit on my face and wriggle around. Oh. And these are all like stock footage videos of old war movies. And now this is another flashback. After the disaster in the war, he's in the mental hospital. he's changing the guy's oil.
Big building with generals. That's not important right now. For the future, then
You gotta love those plays on words.
that's good news.
Is it? Because of my mistake, 6 men didn't return from that trip.
7 Lieutenant Zip died this morning. Dr. Sanders says she'll be out in a week. Isn't that wonderful?
Wish I could say the same for George.
George Zip. Now, right now, we hear that name. We hear that name and we think nothing of it. But the payoff is genius. Of course, you have to be kind of a film historian to get it when it comes, but I'll explain it to you.
Bedroom with mirrors on the ceiling and
Captain Jolene. He thinks he's a pilot, still fighting the war.
This is
Lieutenant Hurwitz. Severe shell shock. Thinks he's Ethel
Merman. Now, Ethel Merman was a big-time a superstar singer from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And the joke here is that actually is Ethel Merman. He's saying it's a pilot whose post-traumatic stress makes him think that he's Ethel Merman. The joke is that it actually is Ethel Merman.
No, thank you.
would either of you like another cup of coffee?
I will, but Jim won't.
I think I will have another cup of coffee.
Jim never has a second cup of coffee at home.
Excuse me, sister.
Yes?
There's a little girl on the phone.
And this is from 0 Hour as well. She gets a guitar and sings for a little girl who's not feeling well. But they don't do that. A little silly, yes, but It's sort of the bridge to this part, which starts out serious.
Hi, I'm Randy. I'm Lisa.
And she's going to play a song here that's actually was a well-known folk song called River of Jordan by Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary. And he gave the okay for them to use the song, not knowing that it was going to be like this. And he was pissed off. This is fun. Look at the other pilot here. I just love those little things, man. And now she knocked out her IV, so now she's like gasping for breath. And everyone's too busy dancing around to know that she's got a problem here. And this girl, I don't know her name. I've seen her in other things, but she's great here. Look at her. Look at the little girl. Her eyes. That's a well-known actor, too. You've definitely seen him. If you've seen Wayne's World. James Hong is his name. This is incredibly racist, too, but it's really funny. And this is from Zero Hour as well. He's talking about his experiences in the Peace Corps. And this leads to one of my favorite jokes, if not my favorite joke, in any movie ever. He's showing him how to shake hands in America. And he slaps him. So he knocks him out. But that's not the joke I was talking about. She's showing him how to... Now, in Zero Hour, they're talking about life in America. But they were not having a Tupperware party like this. Now, he clearly sucks at basketball. These guys have never played before. And yet, somehow...
I started them on simple calisthenics and gradually worked them up to rudimentary game skills and finally advanced competitive theory. I was patient.
Yeah, not racist at all. Not racist at all.
It was probably due to the advanced American teaching techniques that we were able to bridge the
Yeah, he taught him.
communicate so successfully with the law. I think they're getting the hang of it. When we re-enlist, I'll teach them baseball.
Ted, I don't want to stay here. It's time for us to go back home to the plans we made before the
And he keeps bringing back George Zip, which is important.
Plans before the war. Like George Zip.
It's the beginning of his PTSD. Now here's the joke.
That moment that I first realized Elaine had doubts about our relationship. And that, as much as anything else, led to my drinking problem.
What a genius joke. Now in Zero Hour, it was an actual alcoholism problem. Here, his drinking problem is that he can't get it into his mouth. And you saw the guy there. He was about to kill himself from being so bored. But yeah, I adore that joke, the drinking problem joke. It lasts throughout both the Airplane movies. It's just people who think of these things are just geniuses. Like, why does a drinking problem have to do with alcoholism? It could be something simple as he just can't get the the fluid into his mouth.
Find out if there's a doctor on board. Fly everything you can. Have you ever been in a Turkish prison? Oh, that second cup of coffee.
So now the plot's starting. Now people are starting to get sick, and this is exactly the same plot from Zero Hour. That was the big issue. Everyone got food poisoning, including the pilots. So now they're looking for a doctor. And when they find the doctor in Zero Hour, he's sitting there with headphones, the old kind of airplane headphones. And here,
Sir, I'm sorry I have to wake you. You a doctor?
he's wearing a stethoscope. And that's Leslie Nielsen, deadpanning as good as anybody. Doesn't crack a smile.
We see your tongue. I'll be back in a minute.
This is
You better tell the captain we've got to land as soon as we can. This woman has to be got to a hospital.
Hospital? What is it?
It's a big building with patients, but that's not important right now. Tell the captain I must speak.
and that's that. They took that from Zero Hour too. That they say, "What is it?" And it's taking people literally. A hospital. What is it? It's a big building with patients, but that's not important. And now the navigator has gotten sick. Kareem's not looking so good. So we're about to enter uncharted territory here. There's great conversation here.
How soon can you land? I can't tell. You can tell me I'm a doctor. No, I mean, I'm just not sure. Or can't you take a guess? Well, not for another 2 hours. You can't take a guess for another 2 hours? No, I mean, we can't land for another 2 hours. Fog has closed down everything this side of the mountains. We've got to get through to Chicago.
And think about that conversation there. They do it in one take, and the jokes are flying. He says, "When can we land?" Now, if you look at Kareem, he's wearing his basketball stuff. But he's like, "How soon can you land?" "I can't tell." "You could tell me. I'm a doctor." "No, I mean, I'm just not sure." "Can't you take a guess?" Well, not for another 2 hours." "You can't take a guess for another 2 hours?" They're having this dialogue back and forth, face to face, one take, and neither of them cracks a smile. Those are pros.
What is it, doctor? What's going on? I'm not sure. Haven't seen anything like this since Geneva Brad. What was it we had for dinner tonight?
Well, we had a choice. Steak, fish.
Yes, I remember I had lasagna.
Had lasagna.
Doctor, there are 2 more sick people, and the rest of the passengers are worried.
Gee, sounds like a pandemic.
This is Captain Over speaking. Been a little bumpy up here, but we'll be past it in a few minutes. Got the points of interest.
Everyone's looking at, hey, it's pitch black at night, but we're flying over Hoover Dam, and we're doing this, and it's been a little bumpy up here, but we're all right. As they're pulling the two, what seems like dead pilots through the through the aisle, but nobody notices that.
Oh, stewardess, my husband's very sick. Can you do something, please?
Yeah, that guy's dying in the middle, and that kid's playing with the airplane.
One thing, do you know what he had for dinner?
Yes, of course, we both had
Oh, nothing to worry about. No.
We'll be back to you very quickly.
Doctor, Mr. Hammond ate fish, and Randy said
More cases. Oy vey. Maybe this is too close to home right now.
Now we know what we're up against. Every passenger on this plane will have fish for dinner. We'll become violently ill in the next half hour.
Uh-oh.
Extremely serious. Starts with a slight fever, dryness of the throat. The virus penetrates red blood cells. The victim becomes dizzy. Begins to experience an itching, a rash. From there, the poison goes to work on the central nervous system, causing severe muscle spasms, followed by the inevitable drooling. At this point, the entire digestive system collapses, accompanied by uncontrollable flatulence, until finally the poor bastard is reduced to a quivering, wasted piece of jelly.
Ooh. That's no smoking in these no smoking in these rows, no fucking in these rows. And this, and in 0 hour, the pilot gets sick. They turn on the automatic pilot, and the plane flies itself, like in real life. But here, there's your automatic pilot. And you know what? It doesn't stop here. Like, this blow up doll is going to come back into play. Now here is Lloyd Bridges. He's just doing what he does, barking out orders, which was his acting style. That's Steven Stucker from Trading Places, the connection to this movie. The Siamese twins. It's not going to work. Mm-hmm. So now the automatic pilot is deflating.
Check your elbow. That's the dial just below and to the right. Just begin. 35,000 feet. No, wait, 34,000. No, it's dropping. It's dropping fast.
But even that's not enough. Great sex joke coming up.
Don't panic. On the belt line of the automatic pump, there's a hollow tube. Now that is the manual inflation notch. Pull it out and blow on it.
And Lloyd Bridges, he keeps saying, looks like he's doing some gynecological work. Is that how you say it? Gynecology. So she's going to blow up the doll here. But what's Dr. Rumack going to see? Oh, man. And now, even more. Yep. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. And now they're both having a cigarette. Yeah, the blow-up doll gets the most action in this whole movie. They're going back up.
And you remember this food, and you face some unpleasant facts. All right. Unless I go to a hospital quickly, I can't even be sure of saving a life. Now, is there anyone on board who can land this plane? you ought to know what our chances are. The life of everyone on board depends upon just one thing. Finding someone back there who can not only fly this plane, but who didn't have fish for dinner.
And that's straight out of Zero Hour. And so is this. They're looking for someone with flying experience as they drag the third pilot, dead, or at least passed out, through the aisle. Well, what would you do if you heard the stewardess say, "Hey, there we go"? Yep, the nun and the Hare Krishna are beating the shit out of each other. Where else are you going to see that? Little plug for Mustangs. And now we're going to meet Captain Rex Kramer, who is played by the great Robert Stack, who, oh, this is great. I really love this. You know how you go to somebody's house and their dog just starts playing with you and it just drives you nuts, and the and the people and the owners don't do shit about it. Like this woman just sees, no, Shep, no. Yep, but it doesn't end there. And there he is. So he was, he knows Stryker. And this here is, you know, yep, it's a mirror, or isn't it? And this guy's more like, you could never get away with making this today. But here's a guy who actually looks like he was going to use that gasoline to blow up the plane. He's wearing a turban, or whatever that thing is called, and he's going to blow himself up because he can't take the story. He's so bored by it.
You see, the first officer is ill, and Captain needs someone to help him with the radio. Do you know anything about planes?
Well, I flew in the war. It was years ago. I wouldn't know anything about it.
Would you go up, please?
Yes, please go. Whoops.
Can you fly this plane and land it? Surely you can't be serious. I am serious. Now don't call me Shirley.
And that's the joke that keeps on giving.
What flying experience do you have?
Brilliant play on words.
Air Force, but this plane has 4 engines. It's an entirely different kind of flying altogether. It's an entirely different kind of flying.
Altogether, it's an entirely different kind of flying.
Stryker, I know nothing about flying.
And Don't Call Me Shirley is
You're the only
a legendary joke.
You're the only chance we've got.
A lot of stuff on there. They just keep repeating the same thing. Oh, God.
That's right. That's what I said. Good.
This is great conversation, him and his wife. And this, love this picture behind him to his left. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. And now this is blatantly, look at the scratches on the guy's the guy's face from the dog. My God. Look at how the background keeps changing. This is obviously green screen, and they want us to know it's green screen because they're going to show us all. I mean, look at this. While he's giving us a little exposition. He goes back with the guy. He knows him. He knows he's a little messed up inside.
24,000 feet. Level flight. Speed 520 knots. Force 0900. Trim. Mixture. Wash, soak, rinse, spin.
Ted, what are you doing here? You can't fly this plane.
That's what I've been trying to tell these people. Elaine, I don't have time to say this, Jim.
I think the
Everyone on this planet is in a desperate situation. Mr. Strike.
the little statue up front here. The statue of Jesus is even scared. See, all these jokes, they'd be offensive if they weren't so innocuous. I mean, there's malice, no malice intended. It's just stereotypes, and it's. See, you believe it. This flight's in trouble. And this is out of 0 hour 2, and people try to calm her down, and they do. Here, they take it a step further, or a few steps further, and there's the doctor who's going to smack the shit out of her. Look. The nun is going to get in on it. And now you're going to see people behind her. The Hare Krishna. He's got boxing gloves. He's got a wrench, gun, a baseball bat, a tire iron. Oh, he must have had fun doing this. And that's Robert Stack doing this. He's like in his 50s or 60s there, and he's you could tell it's him doing it. That's not bad. Self-service baggage claim. This is my dad's favorite joke. The sunglasses. See, all this stuff means nothing, but it's straight out of 0 hour, and they just gotta put something in there that's just gonna be like, it looks like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
clear. Right? It's not easy to remember. What do you say you and I just forget about everything except what we have to do? Let's not kill each other, Kramer. You know I've never flown a bucket like this. I'm gonna need all the luck there is. Stand by, Steve. Our hope is to build this man up. All the confidence we can.
Give him all the confidence he can. Stryker?
You ever flown a motor engine plane before? No, never.
Shit.
Damn, wasting time. Well, when are you gonna land this plane? Oh, yourself. You got something. You got it. Please avoid killing innocent people. You're the only chance they got. All right. Stryker, listen close. Flying a plane is no different than riding a bicycle. Just a lot harder to put big small cars in the spokes. First, I want you to get the feel of the plane. Later, we'll run down the landing procedure. All right, now I want you to disengage the automatic pilot. Watch out for
I remember reading,
movements like this.
these old-time actors being in a movie like this. Lloyd Bridges was always a serious actor, and they all were. And he asked Robert Stack there. He didn't get the joke. He didn't get the whole thing. He said he was kind of doing it for money, and but he didn't understand. He didn't get the joke. And then Stack just took him aside one day and said, "We're the joke." And then he got it. And even Lloyd Bridges had a career launched by this. Oh, look at see, I told you the automatic pilot's getting. He felt her up a little bit there. But Lloyd Bridges, several movies he made after this were along these lines. He did the Hot Shots movies. And here's a funny joke. And the doctor in 0 Hour is explaining what's going on to everybody. But his nose didn't grow like Pinocchio and this guy's.
The other two pilots are just fine. That control is flying the plane. Free to pursue a life welcome to this fulfillment.
The radio's all yours. And keep an eye on that number 3 engine gauge over there.
Yeah, so he said, "We're the joke," and he got it. And Lloyd Bridges did the Hot Shots movies. He did a Mafia parody, a Godfather parody. He became basically a comedic actor for the third act of his career.
Your chances to come out of this thing alive.
Look at the crow behind him.
Rain.
Jesus has an umbrella.
How's it handling? Sluggish. A wet sponge.
Sluggish. Like wet sponge.
All right, Stryker.
This is great.
It's a damn good thing he doesn't know how much I hate his guts.
It's a damn good thing you don't know how much he hates your guts.
And this, nobody gets this because, look, you have an old lady who comes. Now, this old lady is Barbara Billingsley from Leave It to Beaver. She speaks jive. It's ridiculous for me to even explain how brilliant this casting is and this scene is.
Would it be a big mama and raise no rap?
I'm trying to think about who, if this were made today, who would play that role to try to give it the context that it deserves. And I can't think of anybody. It'd be like seeing, I don't know, like Betty White, but even Betty White has become kind of a parody of herself, on purpose. But until then, Barbara Billingsley was known as the wife from Leave It to Beaver, the goody two shoes, kind of like the Brady Bunch. It was the same deal. So to see her speaking jive like that, like it's the most normal thing in the world, was hilarious. And here, this makes no sense, but it's still funny. That's Captain Over's wife. This happened in 0 Hour. He was thinking to himself, and there was an echo, and they take it a little further. And even in that, that's an error there, because I don't think Pedro Borbón and Manny Moto were ever on the same team together, but the joke still works. And there's our connection. Jonathan Banks. We'll see him again. He's our connection to the Eddie Murphy movies. Yep. There they are. They got no instruments. Yes, they do. Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines. They keep doing that. What was I saying? That's the thing. They just keep coming at you. They're just taking the pictures off the wall. This is a takeoff on 0 Hour 2. They just got to add in the National Enquirer. Boy trapped in refrigerator eats own foot. And that guy, I forgot his name, but he did a show which was called Point Counterpoint, arguing both sides of an issue. This is great too.
Like a little whiskey, man? Certainly not.
Too high and mighty for whiskey, but let's get coked up. This movie was PG. That would be an automatic R today.
I'm doing everything I can.
And stop calling me Shirley. And the nun is singing Aretha Franklin. And there's nothing funny here. And this is right out of 0 Hour. One of the stewardesses is having a breakdown, and the doctor comforts her.
I'm scared. I've never been so scared. Besides, I'm 26 and I'm not married.
We're going to make it. Got to believe it.
And I'm not married.
Dr. Romack,
It's just like they're sitting there like, let's take this scene as far as we can go. What can we do we always have to go out with a laugh. And they find their way. And that's how it's done. These are all famous, like, disaster scenes from crap. This was my favorite joke when I was a kid. The shit's gonna hit the fan.
The oil pressure. I forgot to check the oil pressure. When Kramer hears about this, the shit's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah, I loved that joke when I was a kid. It's a little silly now, but it still works. And now the George Zip joke is going to pay off, and it pays off big time. But again, like, if you were to show this to a teenager or even someone in their 20s, they wouldn't get it. They wouldn't get it. They wouldn't get it. And Leon's getting larger. All right, so here's the he's got the drinking problem, and the doctor basically repeats a speech from Knute Rockne All-American, where he's talking about a player named George Gipp. And the very famous scene is, go out there and win one for the Gipper.
I don't have anything to say. You've done the best you could. You really have the best you could. You can't expect to win them all. But I want to tell you something. Kept to myself these years. I was in the war myself. Not even before. On late duty one night when they brought in a badly wounded pilot on the raids. Barely talked. Except with me and Doc, he said, the odds were against us that day.
And this is right out of Knute Rockne All-American.
I'm glad. The captain made the right decision. The pilot's name was George Zip. George Zip said that? Last thing he said to me, Doc, he said, sometime. Crew was up against it. The break
And of course, they're playing the Notre Dame theme.
out there and give it all they could. And win just one zip.
And that's the joke. Win just one for the Zip. And there it is.
It won't smell too good.
I don't know where I'll be then, but I won't smell too good. Why? Because he's dead. But win just one for the Zip. That's the joke. And they carry it all throughout the movie. And all of a sudden now, it was the ghost of George Zip that was haunting him. And now that he knows that George Zip did not die in vain, now he can muster up the courage to take this thing on. And that's making this thing real. And that's what I was talking about when you're talking about believing that this shit is going on. The layers of detail are so important. So at the same time that they're doing this incredible joke, they're also telling the story. And that's more genius comedy writing. To be able to tell the story while shooting off these jokes at rapid fire is just amazing to me.
There's a sale at Penny's.
That joke was ahead of its time, too.
Me, John, big tree. Stand by, Striker. We're going to the tower. Good luck.
The tower. The tower. Yeah, that guy was just... His big moment's coming up. And there's Barbara Billingsley again. And there's literally no reason for us to see her again other than... And this is the movie that they're watching on the plane. There's no reason for us to see her again, but that little scene legitimizes her appearance in the movie. It's not just to speak jive to the guys. She's a passenger. She's a passenger.
All right, Colosimo, you work the relay. Roberts, check all air traffic within 5 miles. Get that finger out of your ear. You don't know where that finger's been. Cigarette now,
He keeps asking somebody for a cigarette that doesn't exist. Someone named Niles.
If Striker can get that plane down in time.
That isn't much of a chance, is it?
I don't know. We're doing everything we can now. Excuse me, huh?
This is great.
Where did you get that dress? It's awful. Those shoes and that. Oh, jeez.
There's Jonathan Banks again. He's playing Atari. And how does he connect to the next movie? Well, he connects to... getting rid of all the lights. I'll come back to Jonathan Banks in a second. Budweiser truck. Air Israel. Look, it's dressed like a Hasidic Jew. But yeah, Jonathan Banks. Oh God, I can't talk about something because there's another joke here. But Jonathan Banks connects to 48 Hours and he connects to Beverly Hills Cop. He's got two prominent roles in both. It's a little ducky. That's what's going to happen when you pull the and here's a shot at Disco. Yep. Yeah, you pull they give you the lecture about the life jacket. Pull the thing, and what happens? What happens? It inflates into a little ducky. Great joke here. You might get hurt up here. Kerp. Same word for word from 0 Hour. And all of a sudden, everybody's happy.
The gear is down, and we're ready to land.
All right, he's on final now. Put on all runway lights except 9.
Captain, maybe we ought to turn on the searchlights now.
It's just what we expected.
What?
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
Oh, this is great.
All right, but just listen carefully. Be able to see the runway at 300 feet. Aim to touch down a third of the way along. Slight crosswind from the right, so be ready for it. Land too fast, use your emergency brakes. Red handle is right in front of you. That doesn't stop you. That doesn't stop you. Cut the 4 ignition switches over the co-pilot's head.
I was telling one of my best friends who I was texting with before doing this. We were talking about this movie, and I was just saying that not all humor has to be right in your face. like movies of today, it's got to be like now he's sniffing glue. Not every laugh has to be, just like the actors reaching out from the screen and choking you, saying, "This is where you're supposed to laugh." What they do with the sweat here on. There's Jonathan Banks. This is some crash position. Oh, God. Crash position. It's not bracing for a crash. It's what you're going to look like when you're crashing. That's the joke. Now the lights go off. That guy, he's so funny in this. He's so funny in Airplane. He's so funny in Airplane 2, and unfortunately, not long after these movies, he passed away, I believe, of AIDS. I don't remember him being in anything else other than these two in Trading Places. Steven Stucker. A lot of these people are gone now. Robert Hayes is still alive. Julie Haggerty's still alive. Stack and Lloyd Bridges are gone. Leslie Nielsen's gone. Peter Graves is gone. Whoops. See, like they're having a crash landing in 0 Hour, and it's just they say, what can we do here? So now this joke took me a while to pick up on too, because as the plane can't stop, the arrival gate keeps changing. Gate 13, gate 14. And I think there's one more, like gate 25, 26. Woo. Yeah. And they made it. And we're relieved, and this is a ridiculous comedy. Yet we are relieved because we believe it, because the acting and the writing just makes us believe it.
I just want to tell you both. Good luck. We're all counting on it. Spiker, you all right? Yeah. We're okay. That was probably the lousiest landing in the history of this airport. Some of us here are giving me. I'd like to buy you a drink and shake your hand.
And see, this is a nice little scene there, but they got to keep going.
Ted, I just want you to know, I'm going out.
It's like we can't just stop. We can't just stop with a feel-good moment. We have to keep going.
Never happy as a child. Christmas, Ted, was a living hell. Fall in the mud, get kicked. A head. An iron boot. Of course you don't know. Never happens. Sorry, Ted, it's a dumb question, Skip.
He's just pouring out his soul. And this is great. She goes, I'm gonna get back to another joke that we saw before, but here. The little girl with the heart condition, she goes through all this stuff, and now look what happens. Boom. Crash. But the stewardess was, as people were getting off after this disastrous flight, she's like, "Have a nice day. Thank you for flying Transamerican. Have a great day. Goodbye." Like as if nothing happened. But I also love that, the girl with the heart condition, they go through this entire disaster where everybody almost dies. Then they get there alive. She gets into the ambulance, and the ambulance 10 feet from the plane gets into a crash, which probably does more damage to her than anything on the plane. And the stud of the movie, he's going to be flying with a chick. There she is. And that's that. And then they end it with the Notre Dame March. There's Kareem. Great performance by Kareem. Really. Seriously. Lloyd Bridges. My favorite scene with him right there. He's gone. Peter Graves. He's gone. I love how they cover up the other. Julie Haggerty. She's still around. Robert Hayes. He's still doing his thing. Leslie Nielsen. Probably Leslie Nielsen profited the most from this movie. Has to be. There's the ducky. I've seen her around, so I know she's still doing things. There's Robert Stack, my dad's favorite gag. Yeah, before the movie, I was talking to one of my closest friends, and whose opinion I value as much as anybody's about movies and stuff. And we were just talking about what makes a great comedy, and it was interesting hearing his point of view on things. But me, you gotta laugh. But in order to laugh, the laughs have to come from a real place. Unless you are going to tell your audience right away that this is a complete farce. But that takes, humor comes from truth. Humor comes from real things. And that's why the actor's playing it straight, as if nothing is wrong. Or I'm sorry, as if nothing is funny, as if they're really screwed. You have to... That's the only way to sell the humor. You got to believe that these people are in trouble, and that's what I was telling my friend. And that's what that some of the comedies today that they don't really seem to get that. They got everything's got to be loud and in your face and so over the top and so outrageous that it's like I don't know. It's hard to. There's just something special about these older movies that these guys basically invented something. But just the way they were able to take that old movie and turn it into something just completely new and different. Look at these credits here. Generally in charge of a lot of things. Boom person. Magic consultant. There are a couple other ones here. Author of A Tale of Two Cities, Charles Dickens. He gets credit. Theme from Jaws, Staying Alive, Notre Dame, Victory March, River of Jordan by Peter Yao. That's what we're going to end with, the actual song. Yep, I knew it was Atari that he was playing there. All right, so that was Airplane, and next time I think we're going to go to Eddie Murphy's first movie. We'll do 48 Hours, I think. That seems to be the best thing to do. So, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for hanging up. Wait.
Well, I'll give him another 20 minutes. But that's it.
Yep, can't go without that. Just a running gag that starts in the beginning. You see him one time in the middle, and then all the way at the end, like post-credits. This was before every movie had post-credits. So, all right. So, we're going to see you next time. Yes, Peter Yarrow, River of Jordan. Thank you for watching along, and we'll see you next time on Watch Along with Groove.
I wanted to know if life had a purpose and what it all means in the end.
In the silence I listened to voices inside me, and they told me again and again. There is only one river, there is only one sea, and it flows through you, and it flows through me. There is only one people, we are one and the same. We are all one spirit, we are all one name. We are the Father, Mother, Daughter, and Son. From the dawn of creation, we are one. We are one. We are one. Every blade of grass on the mountain, every drop in the sea, oh, every cry of a newborn baby, every prayer to be free,
Every hope at the end of the rainbow, every song ever sung,
is a part of the family of woman and man. That means everyone. We are only one river, we are only one sea,